Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this webinar. My name is John Sowash. Thanks for joining me. Just as a reminder, the webinar officially kicks off at 8 p.m. Eastern, which is about 10 minutes from now. So if you're here, feel free to grab a beverage and settle in. We'll get started in a little bit. Excited to have you here with me. Today, we're going to be discussing creativity tools for the classroom. I'm going to be sharing some of my favorites with you and having a little discussion along the way. The goal of this is to help you understand and discover some new tools that you can use in your classroom to engage and challenge your students. So thanks so much for joining me. Like I said, we'll get started at 8 p.m. Eastern. It's about a little less than 10 minutes from now. Now, there are two ways that you can watch this broadcast. If you are on my webinar page, you can just click the play button and watch right from there. Or if you click the link and join me on YouTube, you'll be able to both watch the video and participate in the live chat as well. So totally up to you, whichever one you're more comfortable doing. If you're on a mobile device, it can be a little bit much to watch and keep track of the chat. So probably just watch the video if you're on a phone. If you're near a laptop, you can watch and comment and chat, ask questions at the same time. So I'm going to pull the chat up so that I can keep track of that as best I can. So I will tell you that running these webinars solo is a bit of a challenge. There's a lot going on. I've got my outline and my slides, and I'll try to keep my eye on the chat as well. Make sure that you guys can hear me and see me all at the same time. So that's why I start this live stream a little bit early so I can get myself organized. We're getting there. So I got a few people already in the chat. Sheila, welcome. Good to have you. I assume that's Alberta, Canada. It's good to have some Canadian friends joining me. I'm located in the greater Detroit, Michigan area, which is not far from Canada. So Brian from Ohio, welcome, Brian, and Scott as well. A very international group. Got Paul all the way from Australia. Paul's up super early. Got John from Taiwan. That's impressive. Awesome. And Susan from Florida. A little bit jealous, Susan. It's quite chilly here in Michigan today. In November, had a good time. And now we are here for Christmas in the winter. Before we get started, just kind of give you a couple of updates on some things here and there. If you did not hear, Google has released locked quiz mode in a beta form. So a few users got early access. I happen to be one of them. This is a pretty cool new feature that sets up a secure testing environment during a Google Form quiz. So once a student starts the quiz, it locks down the browser so they can't access other tabs or I created some videos on that that you can check out. It's on my YouTube channel. I posted on Facebook and blogs. You may have seen that. So that's a new thing. I anticipate that everyone will have access to that. Speculation on my part, but I would anticipate sometime in January we'll all see that locked quiz mode. So that's pretty cool. Paulette, welcome from New Jersey. Good to see you. And Mike from Kentucky, good to have you. So if you're just joining me right now, and there's two different ways that you can consume this webinar, watch this this webinar. So one way is to, let me do a screen share here so you can see what I'm looking at. One option is to check out just the video. So you should have all gotten the link to this page here. And then if you just want to watch the video, just click this button and you can watch the video in its entirety. If you'd like to participate in the live chat, just click this YouTube Live link, or click your launch over on the left, and that will allow you to see the chat and the video simultaneously. So YouTube Live is a pretty slick tool. That's how I do most of my webinars, and it's worked out well. So I've tried Facebook Live before. I don't know, it's a little more tricky to get that all set up. So I think YouTube Live is my favorite so far. Mrs. McDonald, welcome from Maryland. Good to have you. I appreciate those kind words. I'll do my best to keep this informative as well. So I just shared a few tips and insights into the new locked quiz mode. I also saw an interesting report that I posted it to my Facebook page, the Chromebook Classroom Facebook page. But Google is reportedly working on a integrated way to annotate PDFs on a Chromebook, which would be slick. So, I mean, there's different tools, there's different ways you can do this, but according to this source, Google is trying to do a built-in way to do that using the stylus or mouse on a Chromebook, which would be awesome. So we don't have a lot of details. It wasn't even on an official Google report. It's one of the individuals who does these code dives. They go into the code base for Chrome and other operating systems to try to uncover new features and upcoming updates, which is neat. So I posted that. I was trying to find the link to it. So I'll grab it here. But I know that the ability to edit and mark up not just PDFs, but really any document is a really useful thing in the classroom. And yeah, I would like that. So this is from 9to5 Google. I'll throw the link into the chat if you're interested. Editing on a Chromebook. So if you're interested, I'll throw that link into the chat. So, Chromebooks are one of my specialties, something I spend a lot of time thinking about, working with, and helping teachers take full advantage of. So I try to keep my ear to the ground about any new updates or features that might impact us in the classroom. I think that might be one of them. Well, we're going to get started here in just a few minutes. Great to have you. Again, my name is John Sowash. I'm author of the Chromebook Classroom. Taught high school biology in the Detroit, Michigan area for 5 years, and I was a high school principal for 2 years as well. And now I spend my time helping teachers use technology in meaningful ways. And I kind of specialize in Chromebooks, Google and Chromebooks. So I wrote a book on it, blog, podcast on Chromebooks. And really my passion is helping teachers use technology, like I said, in meaningful ways. I mean, there's a lot of things you can do with technology, but not all of them are that useful, helpful, impactful. So we're really looking at, how can we use technology to help students learn more effectively. And that's one of the things we're going to be talking about today, focusing on creativity tools for the classroom. A couple final hellos and welcomes, and then we'll kick this off officially. Kelly, welcome from Illinois. Melissa from Ohio. Good to have you. Got Mike from Illinois as well. And Mr. Devin McCarty from Michigan. Great to have you. Thanks for joining me on this Thursday evening. Not sure if any of you are fantasy football players. I don't know if player is the right word. But there's a big football game tonight. So it's tough for me to compete with the Kansas City Chiefs and Chargers, but that's what I'm doing. So I've got some major fantasy football implications in this game as well. So I'm excited. I'm in the playoffs. So if you're a fantasy football aficionado, I hope you do well tonight as well. Maria, welcome from Colorado. Good to have you. Well, let's go ahead and get started. We scheduled this webinar for 90 minutes, but I am not at all obligated to fill those 90 minutes. We're going to talk about some creativity tools for the classroom, give you some tips and tricks that hopefully you can use in your own classroom, and then we'll go on our way. I've got lots of exciting things to share with you, some freebies. We're going to start with some giveaways here in just a few minutes. Got some information about an upcoming online course that I'm teaching, and some resources that I'm going to send your way at the end. So thanks for joining me. I'm so excited to have you here, and my goal is to make this a practical session. My hope is that this will be the best webinar you have ever attended. I know a lot of people sign up for webinars, and not quite as many are able to make it, and I don't know what happens after that. My hope is that this will actually be an impactful experience from you. I'm going to go ahead and switch over to my screen share so that you can see some of my resources, and we'll get started. We're actually going to start with a little giveaway. I've got a couple of things to share with you. Cool. There we go. Welcome. Like I mentioned, my name is John. Some of you have heard me speak at different locations and places, and excited to share some creativity tips for you. Contact information is up there. I will send this stuff to you as well at the end of the session, and you're welcome to reach out to me if I can be of any assistance. I want to show you something, and then we'll get started here in a minute. So what you're seeing right now on your screen are the top 12 or so websites accessed by Chromebooks. So 12 things. Some of these you're probably familiar with. Kahoot, certainly a popular one. Quizlet, Edpuzzle. You may have seen your own kids on cool math games, perhaps, or Prodigy. That's another very, very popular one. These are the top dozen or so websites for Chromebooks. This is based on a report by GoGuardian, released early this year, January of 2018. It's an interesting list, and when I looked at this, I had one major concern. Aside from the two apps that I just highlighted, Prezi and Scratch, these websites are primarily consumption-based tools. Kahoot's a great tool, but it's a review game. Same thing with Quizlet, Edpuzzle. Most of this is consumption focused. Now, there's nothing wrong with consuming information. Certainly, we all do it. But I'm a little disappointed that the top dozen websites used on Chromebooks are focused on consuming, and very few, only 2 of the 12 or so, are designed to create. And this is something that I've been thinking about for about a year now. And this came out of this report by GoGuardian. GoGuardian's a filtering company. And so they have a good sense. They've got a lot of data on where students are going, what they're doing on their Chromebooks. And so they published this, and I'll send you the link to the full report if you're interested in checking it out. But I was a little disappointed that we don't do more creative things with the devices that we have. This was the topic of a recent conversation that I had with Andy Losick. He's a great elementary STEM teacher here in Michigan. I interviewed him for my podcast. If you're a podcast listener, I would recommend it. He's got some great insights. But we talked about, do we have a creativity crisis in the classroom? Should we be doing more creation? Are teachers really taking full advantage of the technology they have in the classroom? And that's why I decided to offer this webinar. You probably have some type of device in your classroom, whether they're iPads, Chromebooks, PCs, Macs, whatever they are. Those devices can be used for creation. They can be used for consumption. You will use them for both. But I really want to encourage you to think about, are you taking full advantage of the technology you have in your classroom and asking your students to apply their knowledge and understanding in creative ways? And so today, in kind of direct response to these current top 12 websites, I want to suggest about 10 or 12 tools of my own that you can use in your classroom to help your students create using audio, video, and images. So we're going to be looking at my favorite creation tools for working with photos, taking, editing, modifying, recording audio, publishing audio, and then creating video projects as well. So that's kind of the preamble here. Excited to have you so much. Thanks so much for joining me. Gail, Sally, Kathy, great to have you. I want to start out by giving away a couple of things that I have. Throw my camera back on. I'd like to give away 2 signed copies of my book, The Chromebook Classroom. This book goes into detail on how to use Chromebooks, and it's my pleasure to give out a couple copies of those. What I'm going to do is just select randomly here from the this live stream. So I'm going to go with Brian Spade. Brian, appreciate you. You're the first person in the domestic U.S. who joined the live chat, so I appreciate that. Brian, I'd like to give you a signed copy of my book for being here on the live broadcast. All you have to do is send me via email, Twitter, however you want. You can just click reply on one of those emails that I sent earlier. Send me your mailing address, and I'll get that in the mail to you as well. That book, again, goes into detail on how to use Chromebooks in the classroom, and excited to send you a copy of that as well. So congratulations, Brian. Send me your address, and I'll get that to you. I'll give away another copy at the end of the webinar, so stick around for that, and we'll go on. So you heard my little introduction, kind of my disappointment at how we're using technology in the classroom. Let's dig into this a little bit further. So, why is creation an important thing? I mean, is it something that we should be doing? So let me give you just some ideas for, why I think that creation is an important tool. First of all, creating something requires a lot of research, planning, cooperation, decision-making. These are the tools that we want our students to develop. We want our students to be good researchers, to be able to organize information and plan it out, to collaborate with others. And by asking them to create something, it builds those skills. Certainly, if you're working with technology, audio, video, images, you're going to build technology skills as well. And then from a student perspective, they're really going to appreciate the fact that it allows for a lot of personal expression. So instead of giving a kid a worksheet or a cookie cutter assignment where everybody's going to get the same answer, it allows them to take what they understand, apply it in a unique way, and then showcase it to their students. So that's why I think creation is such an important thing. Confucius is quoted as saying, "I hear and I forget, see and I remember, do and I understand." And again, the act of creation is very powerful from a learning cognitive perspective. That's why teachers are so smart, because we're creating all the time. When you prepare a lesson, you really internalize that information. And so if we can get our students to do more creation, I think we'll have better outcomes as well. This is something that I once heard someone say. I wish I could remember who it was, and I would give them attribution. But, our job as teachers is to help our students use the tools of today to communicate and express their ideas. Now, I mean, if you were, back in the 1930s, 40s, radio was the dominant form. If you were in the, 70s, 80s, 90s, TV was the dominant form of communication. And today, the internet, the web, social media, like all those things are how we communicate. And so preparing and helping students develop those skills is very, very important. The knowledge, the information we're communicating can be related to math, science, language, arts, history, whatever, but we're communicating using our current tools. We're all impacted by standards. It kind of guides what we do. So I just want to give you some evidence that, creation in the classroom is a useful thing from a standards-based perspective. I just cherry-picked out a few standards from the Common Core standards. That first one there: integrate and evaluate content presented in diverse media formats. When we work with multimedia, you're accomplishing that ELA standard. That second one: presenting claims and findings, making students take a position on something and then communicate the evidence that supports that position through audio or video, is again another great practice activity. Literacy, distinguishing between information. So as we're doing our research, making sure that we understand that where the information we're looking at is coming from, what biases might be present there. Next, organizing complex ideas and concepts. To create a good video or a good presentation, you have to have a good grasp of the information that you're sharing. So lots of connections to the standards that we teach that, again, we can use to justify our use of these tools in the classroom. So we know that there is a bit of a creativity crisis in terms of how technology is being used based on that report from GoGuardian. I think creativity in the classroom is an important thing for demonstrating knowledge. Certainly, it's backed up by the standards that we teach. So let's look at some tools. So how do you add creativity tools into your classroom? We're going to be looking at three categories. We're going to be looking at image tools, audio tools, and video tools. Just as a reminder, I am going to send you, if you are watching this this live stream, if you RSVP'd for this, you're going to get an email from me with a link to this presentation and all the tools that I'll be mentioning here. So that'll be in your inbox tomorrow morning when you wake up. So let's get into image tools. Some of these will be familiar. Some hopefully will be new from you as well. I do have my eye on the chat as well. So if anything comes up, drop a question in there, and I will do my best to answer those during the broadcast. So first one, this is has been around for a while. It's taken a lot of different changes and kind of evolved over time. This is one of my current favorite image editing tools. It's called Aviary. This used to be kind of its own independent company, and then it ended up getting bought by Adobe. And you can access Aviary as both a iOS app, an Android app, and on the web. It's a super, super simple image editor. If you're an elementary teacher, middle school teacher, Aviary is a great choice for working with images. Super easy. It's got kind of an Instagram feel to it, minus the whole social media aspect of it. It's 100% free. There's not even a paid version. It's just a free tool from Adobe. Here's a quick look at, something you can do with this. So one of the things I really like about Aviary is you can, when you go to aviary.com, you go right in. There's no login. You just start editing. So no login. You don't have to sign up. So you don't have to worry about any privacy, data, permission kind of stuff. You go right into the image editor. You can actually take a photo using your webcam through Aviary, which is what I did here. And then over at the top, you can see kind of these different things across the top. These are all the different editing tools you have. The stickers are particularly fun. I enjoy that, as well as the frames and effects, similar to Instagram that you'll see. So I love Aviary. Super easy, super simple. Again, no login, anything required. So that's a really good one. Those are the key features. There's no advertising that you have to worry about. Super simple, like I said. No, it's not the kind of tool that you're going to do something complex on. It doesn't really have a save in progress function. So you start it and then you finish it before you close the app. Because you're not logging in, it also doesn't save your work. It's a great tool. Now, this is a little weird, and I hope things continue. So I had the Aviary app on my phone. I have an Android, and when I opened it up recently, I got a message that said Adobe is discontinuing Aviary Mobile. And so you could still use the app, but you're not going to be able to install it. You're not going to get any more updates. That's true for Android and iOS. Now, if I go to aviary.com and sign in, or open it up and use it, I don't get that message. So I don't know what's going to happen with Aviary. Adobe is definitely pushing people towards Adobe Spark and Photoshop Express rather than Aviary. It's a wonderful tool for us in the classroom. I tried to do some research to make sure that it would be around, and I couldn't uncover really anything either way. So it works today. I don't see any message, but who knows? 6 months from now, sadly, it may go away. I looked very, very hard for alternatives to Aviary. The closest one that I can come up with is called BeFunky, which, yes, that's what it's called, BeFunky. It's a good tool. My only concern with BeFunky is it's a freemium tool, and they really, really push their paid version. And so you're constantly getting these pop-ups and reminders like buy the paid version, upgrade, which is annoying. And so I much prefer Aviary over BeFunky, although they are similar. They do similar things. So just a little word of warning about Aviary. If you start to use it. So that's the first image tool. Again, we're looking at creativity tools in the classroom. What tools can we use to help students create things rather than just consume information? We're looking at audio, video, and image projects or tools. Right now, we're looking at some of my favorite image tools. Next up is one that's been around a long time. Many of you are probably familiar with this one. This is called Pixlr. Pixlr, I would describe as a Photoshop alternative. So I am a 100% Chromebook user, and I have used Photoshop in the past, and I do miss it as a Chromebook user. And so Pixlr has kind of filled in that gap for me. If I need to do some more sophisticated image editing, obviously, cropping is fine. But if I need to do masking, feathering, combining, fading, anything that kind of stuff, color touch-ups, Pixlr can do the job. So here's a little screenshot of what Pixlr looks like. Again, similar to Aviary, one of the things I really like about Pixlr is that you do not have to sign in. So you go to pixlr.com and you can start editing an image right away. You can sign in. You can use your Google account to log in if you want to save your work in progress. It does integrate with Google Drive, which is nice. So if you have a more complex thing that you need to use over several days, Pixlr is a great tool. Off to the right side, you can see there is some advertising there. It is an ad-supported product. I've never seen any advertising that I would be uncomfortable with as a teacher, my students being exposed to. The ads they stay off to the right. There really isn't a reason that you would accidentally click on them. They don't cover anything up. It's a good tool. I like it. This one has been around for a long time. A couple of things to know about this. This is a pro level tool, very robust. So for younger students or students who don't have prior image editing experience, if they've never used Photoshop or a tool like it, they may find Pixlr to be a little bit difficult to wrap their head around. So, over on the right side, you've got lots of image tools over here. If you're not familiar with those do, it can be overwhelming quickly. But it's a great tool for more advanced, certainly high school students and anyone who's comfortable with it. Pixlr is available for Chromebooks. You can get it through the web. So Chromebooks, Mac, PC, just pixlr.com/editor. Or they do also have a Android and iPhone app. So if you have iPads in your classroom, you can grab the Pixlr editor for iOS. Third image tool I want to show you is a fun one. If you have not played with this one, sit down for a few minutes and test it out. It's pretty slick. Google, if you've paid attention to them at all over the last 2 years, they're really into artificial intelligence. So using computer machine learning to improve what we do. We've seen that in a lot of different things. Google Forms has AI built into it now. Gmail has it, Google Calendar, and this tool as well. So I'm going to show you a quick little sequence here. And show you how this works. So I am not an artist at all, but this is my attempt at drawing a Christmas tree. Not so good. And then you'll see that up at the top, as I begin drawing, you'll see these little images appear at the top. So I'm going to put a star on top of my Christmas tree. And Google is going to look at that and say, I think that's a star, and present me with professionally drawn images to replace my horrendous stick figure. And you can then fill and organize, modify that image. This tool, AutoDraw, works especially well on touchscreen devices. I have a touchscreen Chromebook. It's brilliant on there. iPads, phones would work as well. You can use it without a touchscreen. It's just not as easy, but it's a really fun, entertaining tool. And you can use this to create graphics that you would then download and save to use in a presentation, a newsletter, something of that nature. A really, really fun tool that your students will enjoy using. 100% free. Just go to autodraw.com to check it out. There is no app for this. It's just a website, but you can use that website on any device. Jeremy giving AutoDraw some love. It is a fun tool. You really have to just kind of play with it, and you get a hang of it. It's a cool thing. So again, only a Chrome. It's only a website, so there's no Chrome app for it or anything. Just autodraw.com. Again, no login. Great for touchscreen, and your kids will have a riot using it. It's very good for the artistically challenged like myself. I'm going to pause for a minute and just take a look through the chat, see if any questions have been posted. Again, if you go to the live stream website, you'll see a link to join the live chat as well. Question from Paul about Pixlr. So, Paul, I believe I had the Pixlr ad remover thing on it, and the last time I remember trying it, Pixlr had figured that out and was showing a message that says ads have been blocked. You can't use Pixlr or something of that nature. It was a while ago that I did that, but yeah, I don't believe that extension works anymore because I had that as well. It's a good question. So cool. So we got 3 so far. We've got AutoDraw, we've got Pixlr, and our first one we looked at Aviary. My first 3. Jeremy's got a great tip there, and that's exactly kind of what I was thinking as well. To avoid copyright, and do I have permission to use this image? AutoDraw is a great tool for designing that. So that's great. Next one that I want to share is quite a bit different than the last 3. So the last 3 that I shared with you whether it's Aviary or Pixlr or AutoDraw, you're really creating or editing photos. So you're really kind of in the trenches modifying things. Canva is more along the lines of a graphic design program. So this isn't a great comparison, but I would compare it to, PageMaker, InDesign, or Microsoft Publisher, perhaps. It's kind of a simplified version of that. So if you have images, maybe you created a little graphic using AutoDraw, you took some classroom photos and modified them using Aviary, but you want to put them together into a thing, a postcard, a social media graphic, a newsletter, a flyer, something like that. Canva is your tool. Canva is 100% free to use with a little twist in there. Now, Canva is awesome because it makes you look good, even if you're not a very experienced graphic designer. So they have all of these ready to go templates that you can use. So I'm not exactly sure how you ended up signing up for this webinar, but if you saw a Facebook post or like if you went to the registration page, most of the graphics that I created for this webinar were created in Canva. A lot of them end up on Facebook or Twitter, on my blog. It's just a marvelous tool. It makes you look good even though you're not spending hours and hours designing something. So Canva is 100% free to use as long as you stick with the free templates and images. So I have no problem at all recommending this because there are plenty of free templates that you can use. So you might get 100 templates for a particular design and 25 of those 100 are free. That's a rough estimate. So there's lots of options to choose from. You'll see the little Canva watermark on a design that's not free. You just want to warn your students about that because if they do pick a design that's not free and then they use it, you cannot download the design until you pay for it. So just something to keep in mind, but lots of graphics and images. This is a really great tool. If you're doing a more involved project, maybe a presentation, a poster, a website, even a video we'll talk about in a little bit. If you need graphics for those things, Canva is a great place to create them. It's awesome. Lots of love for Canva, I see. Kelly likes Canva and Maria as well. And yeah, it's a great tool. Janet uses it for infographics. Yeah, love it. Love it. It's super easy. Drag and drop, upload your photos, add them in. It's kind of a one-page tool. So, I personally, I'll do one-page like flyers, like a PDF flyer, but I don't know that I would do like a multi-page newsletter, certainly not like a yearbook or magazine or anything. I think that would be a bit more than Canva is designed for. Colin's got a really good question. Canva versus Adobe Spark versus Google Drawing. Excellent question. Similar tools. They can design some similar things. I would give the strong edge to Canva. Just because of the vast number of templates that they have. Adobe Spark is okay, but it has a lot fewer templates. You're going to end up basically getting like 10 different design options using Adobe Spark, their image tool. Google Drawings is fine if you're good at design. The problem with Google Drawing is you're starting from scratch. So personally, I would use Google Drawing for more learning activities. So graphic organizers, maps, annotations, things like that. I'm going to use Canva for things that are more polished for an external audience. Like Jeremy, listed there, logos, icons, Twitter stuff as well. So those are my favorite audio tools. Now, again, I scour the web for different things that you can use in the classroom, tools. And I have some criteria for things that I recommend. Number one, all the tools that I recommend have to be free or offer a freemium version of the product that's not super ultra annoying, which is why the Be Funky app I mentioned earlier hasn't made the cut. So it has to have a free option. I don't mind paid, but I need a free option. Secondly, I'm wary about login things. Let me stop my screen share for a minute so you guys can see me. I don't like tools where you have to create an account. I will accept tools that allow you to sign in with Google. So students don't have to create their own account, a new account, but they have to log in with Google. But even then, more and more schools are starting to prevent teachers and students from just randomly signing up for stuff. More schools are now saying, hey, we need to verify what they're doing with data, make sure that these tools adhere to whatever policies the district has. So that's one of the reasons I really like Aviary. I really like Pixlr. You can create an account if you want, but you don't have to. So those are some of my criterias. I really favor tools that offer, multi-platform, web, iOS, Android, so that regardless of what tool you have, you can use it. So those are some of my favorites. Now, a lot of you, a couple of you in the chat, I can see, are asking, how would you use this in the classroom? And that is exactly the right question that you should be asking. And I'm going to address that here in a little bit. So right now, I just want to talk about the tools, give you some good tools to think about, and then we'll talk about application here just shortly. So we just wrapped up image tools, and I'm going to move in now to audio tools. I got my eye on the chat, like I mentioned, so feel free. If any questions come up, throw them in there, and I will jump on those as quick as I can. So audio is something that has been kind of overlooked as a multimedia option for quite a while. So, the golden age of radio is long past. We've gone, to YouTube and TV and video has been dominant, but audio is wonderful. Audio has a lot of advantages over video. So first of all, because you're eliminating the visual aspect, you really have to focus on the message. So you really have to make sure audio is really a writer's medium. You have to have strong writing to create engaging audio. Audio projects and recordings are much simpler to create because you don't have the visual element to consider. You'll have some students who really don't enjoy appearing on camera, but don't mind speaking into a microphone. So some advantages of audio over video. So a couple of my favorites that I want to share with you. This is hands down my favorite. This one is awesome. It is awesome because it is the most simple tool you've ever seen. This is called Audio Recorder, and it is literally a single button. So there's a screenshot of the tool. All you have to do is press that microphone icon to start the recording, and then you press the download button to download your recording. Done. That's it. This is a Chrome app. So if you have Chromebooks, you can install the Chrome app. This is one time when the Chrome app is not actually just a link to the website. It is actually a locally installed tool. So this works offline. If you're on iPads or laptops, you can just access this tool through the web as well. Again, one button, works super easily, works offline, no setup required, and there is no length limit. Theoretically, I wouldn't use this for a 60-minute recording, but there's no limit to how long you can record. So that's the first one. That's just for raw audio. Now, I would use Audio Recorder for simple reflections. You're not going to use auto recording for anything super polished, fancy. You're not going to use it for podcasting, for example. You're going to use it for a kid as an exit ticket, just recording a quick 30-second reflection on the lesson, something like that. You just did a lab activity and you want every student to kind of summarize that lab recording immediately. Kathy, I see your question there. So the recording, you press the download button, this one right here, and it saves to your downloads folder on whatever device you have. So if you're on a Chromebook, typically goes into downloads. It could go into Google Drive if that's how your district has it set up. Then you as the teacher would need to direct the students where to put that audio file. So I use this with Google Classroom. So I create an assignment in Google Classroom called Class Reflection Exit Ticket, and they just attach their audio recording to that exit ticket in Classroom. So it's a great way. It really is an interesting way to do exit tickets or reflections through Google Classroom. Works really well. Next one is very, very different. And if you're an English teacher, you're going to like this one. So it's called BookTrack Classroom. Now, I need to make very sure that you understand. There are actually two products by the same company. There's BookTrack, which is like their consumer product, and then there's BookTrack Classroom, which is their education product. I accidentally created my account in regular BookTrack, and you don't get the same options for managing a class as you do in BookTrack Classroom. So when you're searching, make sure you add the classroom there, and remember that. So this tool allows you to take something that has been written and add sound effects and music to it. It's not an audio book. It's like an enhanced piece of text. So here's a quick look at how this works. So this is actually an excerpt from the book Peter Pan. And so what you can see me doing is highlighting, this is the part where they're introducing the dog Nana. I highlighted the Newfoundland dog, went into the sound effect library that is provided, and selected a dog barking sound. Then I went in, highlighted a whole section, which is kind of a crowd scene, and added some background noise to it. So you can add sound, music, you can add kind of ambiance noises and sound effects to it. Love the idea of using this as an enrichment activity. So when students write something, if they finish on schedule or ahead of schedule, they can just copy and paste their writing into BookTrack Classroom and enhance it with music and sound effects, etc. You can then publish books to the class bookshelf, and students can read one another's books. So it's a fun tool to kind of add a multimedia component to a reading or a writing assignment. This isn't a perfect analogy, but there are some similarities between this and Book Creator, which you may have heard of. It's not the same. Book Creator is far more advanced and has more options, but it kind of has a similar feel to it when the final product is published. BookTrack Classroom is available for Chrome, Android, and iOS, kind of. So the mobile apps are only for reading books. So once your books are published, you can access them on a mobile device. BookTrack also has a pretty decent library of books that have already been enhanced with the sound effects. So, for example, I know that Edgar Allan Poe has a couple of really good titles on BookTrack Classroom. Obviously because of the suspenseful nature of his writings, it lends itself well to this kind of thing. So if you're reading something, especially a short story or a poem, you could also go to BookTrack Classroom and check to see if someone's already done it. Super easy to use. It is 100% free. I thought they had a premium version of their product, but I couldn't find it. I don't think they have a paid version. So you're not getting any ads or requests to upgrade. It's very nice. And then again, the classroom version of BookTrack gives you the ability to manage student work, publish their books for the rest of the class, and kind of keep it within your own class community. Super nice. Super nice. So that's BookTrack Classroom, another audio tool that I really enjoy. Last audio tool I want to share with you is Soundtrap. I've actually been getting into Soundtrap a little bit more lately because of my podcast. I actually do my own audio editing through Soundtrap for some of my episodes. Soundtrap is a GarageBand like tool. So if you're familiar with GarageBand, which is an Apple product, you can only access GarageBand on a iPhone or a Mac. Soundtrap gives you that same level of sophistication, but you can do it on a Chromebook or any other device. So really cool things, including loops and instruments, and then the collaboration is really cool, which I'll show you here in a minute. So here's a quick look at Soundtrap. So this is it's a multi-track image editor. So this is actually my podcast. You can see that I have kind of my intro music that I put in there as one track, and then I have my actual episode, or it's actually an introduction, and then the episode, and then the outro to the podcast as well. So there's 4 tracks in here. You can mix them. You can add fades. They have all kinds of instruments and loops and things. They have a nice sound library with royalty-free music that you can access. And it is collaborative, which is really slick. So they've got this great video that you should watch where a bunch of friends from all across the world are collaborating and creating a song. The drummers in one place, the cello players in another place, the vocalists, and they kind of make the recordings, put them together to create something. If you want to do a polished audio production in your classroom, so maybe you want to do like a 5-episode podcast on World War II, or groups of 2 or 3 students are going to do a short audio podcast on the Greek gods and their characteristics. This would be the tool to use. Students can work on it simultaneously. You can record directly from the app itself. There's a lot of great things that you can do. A couple of things that you need to know. It is available for all platforms. You can use the web app on a Chromebook. They have apps for Android and iOS as well. You can do your recordings, your editing from a mobile device. This is a freemium product, so the limitation to the free account is a 5-project limit. So you can create 5 different audio projects, and then you have to either delete one or pay for an upgrade. So, I mean, 5 projects seems pretty reasonable to me. I mean, I can't imagine a single kid would do 5 podcast episodes over the course of a year. So that's just something to keep in mind. Recording within the app, multi-platform, and then the collaboration, I think, is key. It's actually really difficult when working with multimedia to make sure that all the students in the classroom are working on something and being productive. So, with tools like Pixlr, with BookTrack Classroom, like each kid is working on their own, so it's harder to do group work unless everybody has a different role. So Soundtrap would be a good one for a collaborative option. That's a little bit on audio. I'm going to pause here, answer a couple of questions that I saw coming in. So Mrs. McDonald asked about audio tool versus Flipgrid. Great question. So I've used Flipgrid. I'm certainly not an expert on it, and it's a fine tool. I'm always a little bit surprised at how much people freak out about Flipgrid. And I hope I don't make anybody mad, but I mean, Flipgrid is cool, but like people were losing their minds about Flipgrid this past year. I was like, it's cool. Yeah, it's nice. So you can do something very, very similar to what you're doing with Flipgrid just by using the audio recorder and Google Classroom. Have a kid record a 30-second response and then post it to Google Classroom. What Flipgrid does really well is the social aspect. So I guess it depends on your perspective. If you're just trying to get your students to record their thoughts so that you can listen to them, then audio recorder in Classroom is going to be just fine. If you want to kind of facilitate the social aspect of commenting and sharing and seeing and, you know, putting stickers on your face and stuff like that, then Flipgrid is a marvelous tool. The video aspect of Flipgrid, in most situations, doesn't add a whole lot to the assignment. It's really the audio that's the key, and the video is just kind of there. Now, there are exceptions to that. I've seen some teachers do some neat stuff with Flipgrid. I'll have to see here if, you know, oh, I just lost a viewer, so I made someone mad about Flipgrid not being the best thing ever. It's a great tool. I'm just always a little surprised at how freaked out everybody gets about it. It's super easy to use as well, which is probably one of the reasons that it's very popular. So that's my thoughts on Audio Tool versus Flipgrid. The end result is going to be similar. I guess it just depends on how much you need that social aspect. John's got a couple of thoughts on BookTrack. Poetry would be awesome. It does take some time to add the sound effects and things in. I wouldn't want to do it for something super long. So poetry sounds awesome. You can really enhance the poetry by adding, you know, doing some dissonance things, like using sound effects that maybe don't precisely match the text to create a mood, an unexpected mood. I could see some really interesting ways of doing that. Angela is one person who agrees with me about the Flipgrid thing. So yeah, you'll have some kids who don't want to appear on camera. You'll also have kids who don't want their voice to hear their voice. So, you know, it certainly goes both ways. Cool. So those are some audio tools. Audio is a very underrated tool. Again, I really do think that podcasting audio reflections have some great potential for the classroom. Don't psych yourself out too much about podcasting. Like when I say create a podcast, like that doesn't have to be a show that's published to iTunes. It can just be, you know, 10 2-minute audio clips by different groups that you listen to in sequence that are only published to your class. So, you know, podcasting doesn't have to be, you know, This American Life or anything like that. Janet, great question. Comment there about Cloud Audio Recorder. Cloud Audio Recorder actually is a very close runner up to Audio Recorder. It's very similar. The reason that I recommended Audio Recorder is I like the offline capability. So there aren't that many Chrome apps and extensions that will work without an internet connection. So that was cool. And then just the single button. So Cloud Audio Recorder does essentially the same thing, but it does have more buttons. It does have ads as well. So very close. If you don't have Chromebooks, you will not be able to use Audio Recorder, at least not the Chrome app. And so I would recommend Cloud Audio Recorder. Yeah, very good question. All right, well, we're going to take a mini break here. We talked about image projects. We talked about audio tools. But as a couple of you have kind of mentioned and requested in the chat, you know, what are the classroom applications here? And you're absolutely right. Tools alone will not transform your classroom. Like you can have 1,000 tools, but so what? This list of tools I'm sharing with you don't matter at all unless you do something with them. It's how you use them that counts. Now, I only have 90 minutes in this podcast, and according to the timeline that I typed up and am looking at right now, I am already off schedule. And so there's simply not enough time to go into all of the ways that I would recommend using Aviary or BookTrack Classroom or using audio in podcasting. I want to provide you some insight into the tools that I think work well, but I would love to go even deeper than that and help you use these tools in your classroom. Understanding and looking at how to use these tools to design effective assignments in the classroom is something that I simply cannot do in a 90-minute webinar. And so I am offering and getting ready to lead a 5-week online course called Designing Multimedia Projects. And that is the companion to this webinar. This webinar introduces you to some really good tools. This course will show you how to use them in the classroom. It's a 5-week course, and we look at how to create a project and then use these tools in the classroom. So the course starts in January. No way that I'm going to start this course before Christmas. I know you guys have tons of things going on in the next few weeks. So the course officially starts January 13th. It's 5 weeks, January through February. Each week I post a series of videos, questions, assignments, discussions, practice activities. The entire course is in Google Classroom. I'm trying to make this as convenient as possible. I know that many of you are teaching with Google Classroom. It's super easy for you to just pop into the online course for 10 minutes whenever you have a few minutes to look at things, to add a comment. I don't want this to be a burden. You can earn continuing education credits for this course. And everything is completed on your own time. So there's no mandatory sessions. There's no webinars like this that you have to, be available for 2 hours in the evenings. You do all of it whenever it's convenient. I'm actually working on something pretty cool. This is super secret. I haven't told anybody this yet. So the course is primarily video based. So you watch videos, and there'll be like anywhere from 3 to 7 videos for a week in a week's assignment. The videos will range from 3 to 10 minutes in length. I know that you guys are super busy and that sitting around watching, a video, 20 to 30 minutes worth of video every week is difficult. So I'm actually going to publish the audio from the videos as a podcast. It's going to be a private podcast. Only the members of the course will be able to access that podcast so that you can actually listen to the audio while you are commuting, walking the dog, you're on the treadmill. So you can really fit this course into whatever you're doing. If watching the videos work for you, then do it. If you want to just listen, you can do that. And then if you hear something, it's like, I need to see that, you can pop into the video and check it out as well. So I haven't actually said that anywhere, but I'm planning on doing that. I'm working on the videos right now. So I hope it will be very convenient for you. So it's a 5-week course. I'll give you a quick overview of the 5 weeks. Week 1 is about planning your project. So I've got a template, a lesson template. It's like you need to kind of fill out this outline, pick a unit, identify somewhere in your next semester that you can design a multimedia project. I've tried to schedule this so the course starts at the end of first semester for most of you. So I'm really looking at, implementing the ideas that I'm going to share during the second semester of the year. So you're going to look, 3 to 6 weeks out, pick a unit or a topic that you can create an audio, video, or image-based project with. So week 2, we're going to focus on image projects. We will be talking about Aviary, Pixlr, and some of the other tools that I've mentioned here today. Not only how to use them, but I have specific lesson plans, templates, student examples to help you. So you'll have several options. So you're going to have a short image project, an image project that you can complete in 1 class period, kind of a medium length project that might take 3 to 5 class periods, and then a long-term class project that might take 5 to 10 class periods. So you pick the one that you think will work best for your own classroom. Week 3 is on audio projects. So if you're interested in podcasting, Angela, I know that you mentioned that. We'll be talking about how you could create a podcast. We're going to go into Soundtrap and actually look at how to use it, how to edit something. You'll have an opportunity, if you want, to actually do a sample recording of your own. So that's week 3. Week 4 is on video projects and creating video projects. I'm going to share some of my video apps with you here in just a minute. And then week 5 is on project management and feedback. So I don't know if you've ever had this experience. I did this once. I had my students design a video project, but I forgot to think about how I would grade that project. And so I have some sample rubrics that I'm going to share with you and some tips on grading and evaluating and supporting your students as they're working on some of these projects. So that's week 5. I hope you'll consider joining me. Again, the course has lesson templates, student examples, details on these actual tools, and some tips on using Google Classroom to facilitate these projects as well. The course cost is $99. I think that's a very fair, reasonable cost given the amount of time and energy that I pour into it and some of the resources that you're going to get from it. You can register using a credit card or a purchase order. I do accept school POs, and to learn about all of that, you just visit chrm.tech/multimedia. So chrome.tech/multimedia. Officially, the course again starts January 13th. I want to motivate you to action. I know Christmas is coming. If you don't jump on this before Christmas, it's going to be very hard to remember and get the motivation to do it after the holidays. So if you register for the course before December 18th, that's next Tuesday, December 18th, 2018. I'm going to also send you a print copy of my book, The Chromebook Classroom. I think that'll be a helpful guide for those of you who have Chromebooks. Brian's got a copy already, and I'll send that to you. If you're in the United States, you get a print copy. International educators are welcome to join. I've got teachers from Spain, Finland, France who have taken my courses. Just because of shipping costs, it's very, very cost prohibitive for me to ship those internationally, but I am happy to provide you with a digital version. I have PDF, Kindle, and EPUB versions available. So when you register, if you register before December 18th, you'll get an email with instructions on how to take advantage of that free offer. That's my little pitch. It's not about the tools, it's how you use them. Because of our time constraints here tonight, we don't have time to go into great depth on that. I want to. Collecting tools is not helpful. Using them is much more so. So I encourage you to consider signing up for that course, and we'll explore those things together. All right, back to your regularly scheduled program. Last topic we have to discuss here tonight, video tools for the classroom. We've looked at audio, we've looked at image. Now we're going to talk about some video tools. I've got a couple of standard ones that I'm sure you're familiar with, and some new ones hopefully for you as well. First one, this is a really interesting one. Kind of touches on some things we've chatted about already. This first recommended video tool is called School Video Recorder. This is a free tool that will record a video and dump it straight into Google Drive. There's no setup, no privacy issues to consider. Goes right from your webcam into Google Drive, done. So this is very similar to the audio recorder tool that we looked at. This is kind of a Flipgrid alternative, I guess you could say. So here's a quick look at how it works. You go to the website, it's a Chrome app. You see this, you click start recording, you say your piece, records the audio and the video, and then you click stop and upload. And it literally uploads it immediately. There's no configuration, done. And that's in Google Drive. So it creates a folder in Drive, puts that video in there, and now it's very easy to share that, upload it to Google Classroom. So this is kind of a way that you could do a Flipgrid-like activity in Google Classroom without having to go through all the Flipgrid setup. Again, exit tickets, things like that. This would be the tool to consider. This is simply a website. So there is a Chrome app for it, but it really just points you to a specific website. So primarily going to be a tool for Chromebooks, Macs, PCs, laptop tool. So a really interesting one, uber simple, one button, no setup. And then you don't have to deal with any of where's my video going? Who's saving my video? How many minutes do I get? How long can I record? Eliminates all those concerns. So this is more for documentation kind of stuff. Next one is one that you're probably familiar to you. Screencastify, one of my absolute favorites. All of the little GIF images. So like this little GIF image here that you've been seeing, I created with Screencastify. If you've ever been to my YouTube channel and watched any of my screencasts, those were all created with Screencastify as well. It is probably my #1 Chrome extension that I use. Screencastify is a freemium product. I pay for it. It is a whopping $24 a year. It is the best deal around. I would happily pay twice that because it's such an important tool for me. The free version is absolutely sufficient for student use. I don't see any reason that a student would need the free the premium account. You as a teacher might, depends on what you do with it. So this is a quick screenshot of the editor. So Screencastify actually now has a very, very simple video editor. And so this one here comes with the free version. This just lets me clip off the ends. I mean, so many times the only video editing that I need is just to trim a video. It's like, oh, I screwed that up. I just need to chop out that last little bit. And you get that with the free version. Now, if you have the premium version, you can actually clip and splice videos together as well. So just depends on what your needs are. For students, absolutely the free version should be fine. So this will record your webcam. It will do screencasts as well. You can do picture-in-picture if you want. You can annotate on your recordings, which is super cool. So you may have seen some of my videos on YouTube that I'll like draw on the screen and circle things, which is nice. That's part of the regular version. You don't have to pay for that. The limit for the free version is 10 minutes maximum, which, look, if you're creating student videos, 10 minutes is like 8.5 minutes too long. You don't need anything more than that. The other thing for a teacher, this is where you might get yourself into trouble. You can only record 50 videos per month. Now, I don't think any student would go to 50. I don't even know if I do 50. I certainly do some that are longer than 10 minutes, but I don't know if I do 50. I'd have to think about that. You do get the advanced editor, which is neat. It eliminates the watermark as well. So if you're going to publish videos publicly, the paid version is probably worth the investment. If you're just doing simple documentation, recording things, then Screencastify, the free version is probably sufficient. So this is a Chrome extension, so any device around the Chrome browser should be able to use this. Not iPads or Android tablets or phones, but certainly any laptop. Lots of love for Screencastify in the comments. Awesome. Tech Like Mom Amanda, yep, she uses it to record stuff for teachers. Absolutely, I do that all the time. Veronica as well. It's a great one. Oh, I didn't see the deal for the 2-for-1 option. I got their Black Friday a couple years ago, but I don't know. I feel bad getting a discount. $24 a year seems like a deal for me. I've tried out a bunch of different screencasting tools. I have a super detailed blog post on various screencasting tools. One that's interesting is Loom, Loom. I don't like it as much as Screencastify, but it does a couple of things. It does these really neat round videos, and Loom is Loom's a little more like Flipgrid in that it has a social component to it. So if you're looking for students to like comment and do peer editing or commenting, Loom would be an interesting one to look at. For production and higher quality things, hands down, Screencastify is my recommendation. Next up is Adobe Spark. Adobe Spark is a nice transition between a really simple tool like Class Video Recorder or Screencastify and something that's a little more polished, has a little more production in it. Now, Adobe Spark actually has 3 components to it. So there's Spark Images, Spark Video, and Spark Pages. So Spark can create kind of super simple graphics. Personally, I like Canva better. And it can create some really nice websites using Spark Pages, kind of similar to Google Sites. some similarities, a little different. But really, I think that the best feature of Adobe Spark are the Spark videos. So calling this a video is a little bit misleading. Adobe Spark videos are really more narrated slideshows. So I remember back in the olden days of like 2005 using Windows Movie Maker to create like little slideshows. And I hesitate to say that because Windows Movie Maker will not go down as one of the greatest programs of all time, but it did a couple things well. And Adobe Spark kind of improves upon that basic tool. So you can kind of see here what I'm doing. You know, you've got this simple canvas. You can add an image, add some text over top of it. But what Adobe Spark really nailed, and Mike, I think you're on the right track. It's wonderful for younger students because it has a built-in narration tool. So you click and hold that microphone icon right down here, and you narrate. And it's awesome because the narration is for that individual slide. So it's really hard for like a first grader to flawlessly narrate a 60-second presentation. It's not going to happen. But all they have to do is record in 5-second chunks, you know, each little sentence that they have for that particular slide. So it's really good for elementary. I also like it at the high school level because Adobe Spark doesn't have a ton of options to it, so there's not a whole lot of templates and themes and customization choices, which is nice because it forces students to focus on the message rather than making it super fancy. So I like it for all ages, for super simple, easy projects. You could easily do this in one class period would probably be a stretch, but certainly 2 class periods. So you probably would need like 1 class period to write the copy and collect the media, and then the second class period to assemble all those components together into the actual video. Adobe Spark is available. It is a website. And it's also available for Android and iOS. So they have 3 different apps. They've got the Spark Video, Spark Images, and Spark Pages. So make sure that you get the right ones. Got questions flying in here about the education version stuff of Adobe Spark. And yes, there have been some issues with Spark, and I don't exactly know what they are. So when you go to Adobe Spark, you do have to create an account. You can sign in using your Google account. So that's one of the things that attracted me to Adobe Spark. So that's nice. You have to approve it. Originally, like a year or so ago, they did have a 13 and up requirement. They did modify their policies. I spoke personally with one of the Adobe Spark reps at the FETC conference a year ago, and he said, yes, we've changed our policies. It can now be used by students who are under the age of 13. Even despite that assurance, there have been some issues with students, especially younger students, getting in and creating accounts. And I wish I had some better information on exactly why that is. It's not supposed to be the case. For older students above the age of 13, it's not as difficult. So there's Adobe Spark, and then they've got Adobe for Education and a bunch of stuff there. I don't have any firsthand experience of signing up or setting up Adobe, their education stuff. So creating like Adobe accounts for students. I have only done it and only have recommended having students sign in with their Google account. So Google is handling all the authentication, the age verification, even the data storage stuff. So that's how I would do it. Now, I'm curious, Veronica is saying that they were recommending that, they push that out. I wonder if that's a technical thing or if that's more of a business thing. Because I'm sure Adobe would love to get you into Adobe for Education and then eventually you upgrade or purchase some of their other paid products. I don't know. I know I have personally read their terms of service. You can use Adobe Spark for students under the age of 13. You're going to need to test it and do some research and verification to figure out if it's going to work with your current domain setup to verify that. And mostly seem to be, again, for students who are younger in age. I think it's worth the challenge because it is a lovely tool, especially for younger students. Mike was mentioning that. My own my own kids, my two oldest are 8 and 10. They've done a bunch of projects with this as well. So I'd recommend it. So don't give up on it. I would give it a shot as well. All right, let me switch over my presentation. We're wrapping things up here. A couple more tools to share with you, and then a couple of resources that I'll share with you. So we're moving in a continuum. So, class video recorders, super, super simple, no editing, just raw recording. Screencastify, a little more polished, has some minor image editing, but still relatively unedited. Adobe Spark kind of bridges that gap between a PowerPoint presentation and a video. Now, if you want to do like hardcore, real, legit video, I know you've probably heard of this one, WeVideo. When it comes to editing video through the browser, WeVideo is really the only game in town. Now, there are a couple other ones, but I don't think they have anything close to what WeVideo offers. WeVideo is going to give you an iMovie-like editing experience. It is a freemium product. You can use it for free. However, of all the products that I have discussed here today, the free version of WeVideo is probably going to be the most limited of all of them. I'll get into it a little bit more. So here's a quick look at WeVideo. Now, it is a little interesting, and I am guilty of this. So I'm preaching to the choir here. Everybody's like, oh yeah, you want to edit video? Use WeVideo. But I hadn't really used it that much other than like opening it up and looking at it for 5 minutes until recently. So the last video that I published on locked mode for Google Forms, I did all of the editing and production in WeVideo, and I found it very easy to use. So I was able to do little call outs and put images and several audio tracks and things, crop out a couple of mistakes that I made very, very easily. It's a marvelous tool. It has a lot of buttons. There's a lot of bells and whistles here, which can be overwhelming. You're definitely going to need some more training and experience with WeVideo to take full advantage of what it offers. So if you've never used it, try it. It does have apps for iPhone and Android, and it's cross-platform. You can start and edit on different things. It's a great tool. So definitely professional level, multi-platform, which is awesome. The free version will only get you 5 minutes of published video per month. Now, that's not recorded video, so that's finished video. That's probably sufficient. I wouldn't recommend a class project of more than 5 minutes, and certainly I can't imagine you doing 2 of those in a month. But that's the limitation. You're also going to have a watermark on there. The premium version of WeVideo does add a lot of very, very nice features. So a couple of you are already commenting about this. So green screen or chroma key, which allows you to put crazy backgrounds, do newscast reports, things like that, is part of the premium version. One thing that I don't think WeVideo explains very well is that they actually have 2 incredibly different paid versions of WeVideo. There is a consumer kind of individual paid version of WeVideo, and then there's an education version of WeVideo. you definitely want the education version. And I didn't even know this myself until I paid for the individual version. And then I was talking to their rep at a conference and like, oh, you should try the education version. It's totally different. So the education version allows you to do some really neat things like create a template for your class with media, audio, images, video. Say, here's the raw material, make something from this. So, we're studying Abraham Lincoln Gettysburg Address. Here are some pictures, sample audio, reenactments, whatever. Design or tell a story using this stuff. The collaboration so that multiple students can be working at the same time is the premium version. The class projects as well. It's worth the price. So guys, you're asking the right question, Gail. The premium version depends on the size of your school. So they do a per seat license, and the more seats you purchase, the cheaper it is. I was looking, like, you could get a class license, so like 30 seats, I think was $200 or $300. So, 30 kids get the premium version for, $3, $4 a kid. Now you go up to 1,000 and then you're going down to like, $2 a seat or something like that. So you definitely get a large bulk discount. It is an investment. Like this is not $25 like Screencastify, but you're getting a lot more. If you're going to make the commitment, or if your school really feels that Chromebooks and creation is an important aspect of the classroom, then I think it's worth looking into. Check it out. Now, you're going to have to reach out to them and get a quote. Before you do it, just go and test it out. Just go and create an account for yourself and play around with it and kind of see the basics of what you get. It's a great tool. You're going to get much different things with the paid version. A couple questions coming in. Kathy, yes, those are all U.S. prices. I think everything on their website is U.S. dollars. You'd probably have to contact them for international pricing. Janet, that's a very good good point about the COPA compliance for the free version. They are going to collect data and send emails. Yep. You can sign up for a 30-day free trial of the education version if you want. There you go. Oh, sweet. Thanks, Scott. Yep. I thought that was very reasonable. Yeah. $200 for 30 seats. Again, if you're going to do video projects on a regular basis, I think it was good. I personally had kind of a perspective that, video projects had to take a long time. I've listened to some interviews with teachers who are doing this, and because of the template option to set things up, you can do things pretty quickly in WeVideo when you have the premium version. So WeVideo is one that you're probably familiar with. Let's talk about one that maybe you are not familiar with. This one is a lot of fun. I've played with this one a few times. It's called Clap Motion. Now, this is a Chrome app only, so you have to have a Chromebook to use this. Here's what it looks like. It's a slick tool. So you point your webcam at your scene. I'm using Legos here. And this is for creating stop motion animations. And the unique twist on here is that to take a picture, you clap your hands. So the sound, your microphone turns on and it hears the clapping sound, and that's the trigger to take a photo of the image. So you can move your Lego piece, clap your hands, move your Lego piece, clap your hands, and do that. So very, very quickly, you can create a stop motion film. Now, obviously, the clapping part is not going to work very well in a classroom environment. If you've got 30 kids clapping, that's going to be a bit of a challenge. So you can turn off the clapping and just manually trigger the camera by clicking the camera icon. You can kind of see over here if you want. But be a great project to do at home. Stop motion is a lot of fun. My kids are really getting into Lego stop motion themselves. So this is a tool that you might use. It's a pretty limited tool. That's all it does. Not a lot of editing. Real simple, but it is fun. for sure. So that's Clap Motion. Again, only available for Chromebooks through the Chrome web app. It does work offline. Very, very easy to use. Just a couple buttons. You can export your video and then upload it to Drive or YouTube, wherever you'd like to take it. So that wraps up the video tools that we looked at. We've got Class Video Recorder, we've got Screencastify, WeVideo, and Clap Motion. Some of my favorites. There's a couple others, but those are my favorites. We looked at audio. We looked at image projects as well. I'm going to wrap up with just a final couple resources. This is what I'm going to be sending you. So what you are going to receive tomorrow morning, I'm going to be sending a follow-up email to everyone, and you are going to get a PDF guide of my favorite multimedia apps. So all of the tools that I have referenced and chatted about today, you're going to get a printed guide to them with links and a brief description. You will get a recording of this entire presentation. So if you want to watch it again, fast forward it, share it, you're welcome to do that. And then I am also going to provide each of you with the first lesson to my online course that I mentioned earlier. So the course Designing Multimedia Projects with Students. The first introduction is called Do You Teach with a Paper-Based Mindset? So these are 6 questions to ask yourself. So the format of this lesson that I'm going to send you is exactly the same as the online course that I mentioned earlier. So if you like the course, if you like how this is laid out, if you feel it's useful, then I'd encourage you to ask your school to fund your registration to the full course. But 6 questions to ask yourself, which kind of gets into this whole creating in the classroom. So you'll get all 3 of those things coming into your inbox tomorrow morning. So check your email for all of those things. And then I am also going to be giving away 2 free spots to the course. So instructions on what you need to do to enter into the random drawing for that will be in the email. So tomorrow morning, probably about 8 a.m., that email will come out. You can take a look at it whenever it's convenient. All those resources will be in there, as well as instructions on how to enter a spot for the course. Don't forget, if you are interested in my online course, so Designing Multimedia Projects for Students, if you register before December 18th, that's Tuesday, I will send you a free copy of my book, the Chromebook Classroom, for your own library. So access to the course, how to sign up, chrome.tech/multimedia. Thank you guys so much for joining me. Appreciate it. Hope this was a helpful resource. I'm going to stick around for a little bit. If there are any questions, drop those into the chat, and I will answer those for a few minutes. But we've been going for quite a while. I promised to let you out of here as promptly as I could. So appreciate your time and attention. Thanks so much for being here. Check your email tomorrow morning right around 8 o'clock for all those resources. Thanks so much, and hope to see you again in another webinar. Hope you have a few, some successful days wrapping up your school year. I know this is a challenging time of year to be in the classroom. Christmas parties, candy canes, and lots of sugar. So hang in there. A few more days till Christmas vacation and get to take a little break. Thanks for the kind words, Laura. Appreciate that. Good to see you again. Thanks, Brian. And don't forget to email me your shipping address. I'll get you a copy of my book. And cool. Thanks, Kathy. Appreciate that. Those emails, every month, I plan on doing those emails. They take about twice as long to write and prepare as I anticipate. So it's good to know that they're valuable. Janet, thanks for being here. Good to chat with you or have you here. Thanks for your comments in the stream, and hope to run into you at a conference sometime soon. I'll be at FETC in January. I'll be at TCEA in February. Back at the McCall Conference in Michigan in March. So conference season is upon us. Thanks, Yvonne. Good to have you here. Appreciate that. Well, Veronica, I've got lots of resources to share, for sure. So yeah, send me an email. Let me know what you got coming up. I'm happy to pass along anything that you have. Veronica, shameless plug here, but if you feel my online course will be useful for your teachers, happy to talk about bulk registration. Give you guys a bulk discount if you've got a group of teachers who might be interested in joining. Yeah, hey Brian, hope to be able to hit the Ohio Google Summit. They don't work super far in advance over there, so I'm looking for the dates, the call for speakers and things like that. But yeah, I tried to get out there. Do you know? Is it in if it's in Columbus or Sandusky this year? I usually bring my family if it's at Kalahari, so they enjoy that. I have to look it up. Let's see, Mike, question from you. So annotating text, yeah, this is an interesting one. I don't have a tool that I'm 100% in love with. So I present from a Chromebook, and on a Chromebook, you can use an accessibility feature called Screen Zoom that allows me to do this kind of stuff. So I can zoom in and out on a specific part of my screen. This is better than the Control Plus, Control Minus that you may be familiar with. So it only works on a Chromebook. Mac has a similar feature, but you turn on the screen zoom. I hold down Control and Alt, and then I slide my fingers to zoom into a part of the screen. I've got a good video on that. If you go to my YouTube channel and search for, I think, Screen Zoom, you'll see it. You kind of have to see my hands to really understand what I'm doing. So there's that. Now for annotation, I don't know if I can do this. I'm not, annotation, I've tested a few. The one that I am using currently is called Write on Web. It's okay, not great. It's like a poor man's smartboard. So it has some super basic tools for like circling, highlighting things on your screen. I have a lot of recommendations for it. So I'm not 100%. So that's a Chrome extension. It's called Write on Web. That's the one I would check out. It's definitely an area where if you were a developer, you could design something killer that I think people would really enjoy. Kathy, it's a question about clap motion. No, so Kathy, it does not include any sound. So what you could do, if that was important, if you wanted to add audio or something, I would create the stop motion using the clap motion tool, export that video, and then you could import that into WeVideo to add a narration, background audio, intro, outro kind of stuff. So you'd have to use kind of a combination of tools, do a little app smashing. Cool. Thanks, Scott, for looking that up. I'll have to look into that. My kids would love to make a return trip to Kalahari. I haven't been to Kalahari in a few years. And I'm glad you mentioned the call for speakers because I haven't put anything in yet, and that's coming up. So I'll get that in. Awesome. Appreciate that. Thanks for the kind words, Valerie. Appreciate that. Awesome. Well, it looks like the comments are slowing down, so appreciate you guys joining me. I'm going to wrap up live stream here and start working on those emails for tomorrow and get you guys a copy of the recording. See, one more from Maria, 6th graders. Your book. Interesting. So yeah, some challenges with Google Photos. I didn't mention Google Photos today because creativity or creation isn't really its primary role or function. It's more of an organizational tool. If you're going to do any work with photos, I do recommend Google Photos. There's a couple different ways to set it up. I've chatted with a couple of yearbook teachers who are either trying to use it or investigating it for future use. And there's definitely some strategy involved in it. You do it a couple ways. You can either create like a yearbook account to use with Google Photos, and then every kid has the password to that account, and then you log into that account to do your edits, to upload your photos. That might minimize some of the duplicate issues that you had. The other part is just training. So my wife and I share a library as well, and I understand what you're talking about because yeah, you can copy photos over and you end up with double. So you just have to be very clear about how you want them to do things. You know, either creating albums, sharing the albums so that they're editing the photo in the album rather than adding the photo to their library and editing it, which is what it sounds like. So two strategies: either work through one account or just do more training to explain what you want them to do. Honestly, I'm a very practical guy. With a 6th grade class, I would probably go the single account route. You can do all the training you want, but trying to get 30, 40, 60 6th graders to do things in a specific way is going to be challenging. So I would look at creating one account, putting all the photos in that account, and then just passing out that login to everyone. Thanks a lot, everyone. 9:31. So I'm going to wrap up the live stream. Look for that email in your inbox around 8 a.m. tomorrow morning. Thanks a lot. See you soon.